Good morning and happy Super Sunday to all. It's the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Richie. Here with my guys, Window 4, Mr. Iron Mike Zappy, San Antonio, Texas.
Let's go.
That is not Carson Wentz. That is Ryan Shedd. He's in upstate New York. He's getting ready for his Super Bowl party, and his San Francisco 49ers got a pretty big game today.
Indeed.
Window 2, Mr. Idris Salam, a.k.a. the Mixgician, a.k.a. Bosco from the Bronx, a.k.a. Smack Your Favorite DJ, rocking the red Eli Manning. Yes, sir. And I am your host, Richie, here in beautiful St. Cloud, Florida. Not a lot of sleep yesterday, but it is Super Bowl Sunday, and I am ready. We're going to give you a backstory on how both these teams got here. And I'm going to hone in on some big matchups that are going to be under the microscope in this game that could sway this game one way or the other. And I'm going to have our panel push the tires on it and speak about it. We're going to start it here, listing these teams' records. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs at 14-6, playoffs included, versus the San Francisco 49ers at 14-5. The Chiefs have a chance to win their fourth overall Super Bowl, third in the Mahomes-Reed era. For the 49ers, they have a chance to tie the Patriots and Steelers for the most Super Bowl victories at 6. This is the second time these two will face off in the Super Bowl. The previous matchup was won by the Kansas City Chiefs. Different cast of characters, though. 31-20. And the swing point in the game was the final 15 minutes, a 21-0 Kansas City run to end the game. I'm willing to bet that a lot of 49er fans, while it's easy to blame the defense in that game, I do believe that they're a little more happy with who they have under center now. Brock Purdy, in my opinion, is capable of doing a lot more than Jimmy Garoppolo was. There's a lot going on here, and what I like to do whenever we get to a big game like this is kind of backtrack it. How did they get here? And this is my words only, and our resident 49er fan is going to pick it up right after me. The San Francisco 49ers, how'd they get here? In my opinion, a thorough running attack, enhanced quarterback play from second-year man Brock Purdy, and the versatility of Deebo Samuel carried this offense, while Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, and co. had a strong defensive season, despite losing their previous coordinator, DeMeco Ryans, who was a finalist for head coach of the year out in Houston. Steve Wilks is now in control of the Niners defense. Niners weathered a losing streak earlier this year in Deebo's absence. They came out of the gates 5-0. They ran into some trouble predominantly this season against the AFC North, where 3 of their 5 defeats have occurred. But the 49ers, what's interesting about these guys, number 1 offense on both metrics, passing and running the football, and a top 3 defense. Ryan Shedd, I remember a conversation we had, I'd say about a month or so ago, a little over a month ago. You guys were on the receiving end of a primetime beatdown against the Baltimore Ravens. You seemed pretty confident and said, you know what? It was our worst game of the year, but we have the best roster in the league still. It's all about executing and showing what we could do. And you guys have played from behind the previous 2 weeks. Tale of two halves, I think it's safe to say, in both ball games. As a matter of fact, I think it's safe to say a tale of a last quarter and then a tale of a second half. But your thoughts on how you got here and just the whole lick?
Well, I'll say this. Steve Wilks is definitely a different defensive coordinator than they had with Saleh and DeMeco Ryans. I think he shook a lot of things up and played a lot more conservative than any of us 49er fans would like. It took a big rude awakening when they lost to Cleveland, and then to Minnesota, and then to Cincinnati, and then they had their bye week. And then after that, Wilks started to dial up some better plays. But their defense is still, like, as talented as they are, way too conservative in my opinion. They always just rush 4. and they're playing zone, and Patrick Mahomes will pick you apart if you do that. I mean, the Chiefs do have Joe Thuney out today, which is nice, but I still don't think that's going to make much of a difference when it's all said and done. As far as the Niners getting to Mahomes, he can scramble pretty well. So the offense just run CMC, throw some trick plays in with Debo. Ayuk had himself a year. He's their biggest deep threat for sure. And Kittle is the best blocking tight end and maybe overall tight end in the league. I mean, it's why he's first team All Pro. I mean, you could argue Travis Kelce all day, and I wouldn't say yes or no to that anyway. But Kelce didn't have his best year either. But the offensive line for the Niners is still very shaky. I worry about Chris Jones coming. He comes right through the middle and with Jake Brendel as your center, and then Aaron Banks and Feliciano, your boy. He's actually playing a lot better at right guard than Spencer Burford.
Isn't it amazing what good coaching does to offensive
He's
linemen?
been playing pretty freaking well. I mean,
Yes,
Burford
sir.
was a false start waiting to happen, and Feliciano was better in pass protection, so we left him in there. But McKivitz is still a big weak link. They'll run behind Trent Williams. I mean, if Kyle Shanahan sticks to his game plan of running the football first, the Niners should win the game. But we'll see what kind of Kyle Shanahan shows up, because they had the Chiefs down 10 with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and he just kept passing the ball for God knows what reason when they're running the ball on him all day. So we'll see.
And that does sting a little when you consider that this same Kyle Shanahan was part of the Atlanta Falcons coaching staff, along with the coach that Mr. Zappy is very familiar with, Dan Quinn. Blowing a 25-point lead. There's not just one thing that goes wrong when you blow a 25-point lead, but we're going to hit on it a little later into the show. But there is a lot on the line, not just for franchise accolades, but for two particular head coaches that we're going to hit on in terms of legacy. Mike Zappy, your thoughts on my assessment, Shed's assessment, anything you want to add on how the 49ers made it this far?
One of the biggest things that I thought that was going to plague the 49ers in the playoffs was their rush defense, their run defense. And that's been their Achilles heel so far in the playoffs. And really, we go back to the divisional round game against the Lions, and I don't look at it as a game that the 49ers won. I look at it as a game that the Lions lost. And we could look at two things with Dan Campbell's play calling, especially at two critical fourth down calls. But, at the end of the day, you look at the 49ers team, and this is a team that coming into the season had 9 All-Pros on their roster. So you expected them to be here, and they did it the right way. They did it with a very spread offense. You look at Christian McCaffrey leading the league in rushing, being our offensive player of the year in the NFL. And then you look at the defense, which in my opinion, they underperformed. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they lost DeMeco Ryans, who is a phenomenal defensive coordinator and is now a great head coach.
That supports Shed's point about
Totally agree.
They've been a little too conservative, and I actually do share both your sentiments on that.
So, but I'm not going to sit here and say, the Chiefs should win this one. They got Patrick Mahomes, because I think that both teams actually match up very well. When you look at in the trenches, I think that's where the Niners can lose this game, actually, because that Chiefs defensive front can get to the quarterback if they need to. I'm worried about the 49ers defensive side as far as who else besides Nick Bosa is going to get to Patrick Mahomes. Chase Young really hasn't done much. Randy Gregory hasn't done much. Nope. Is Wilkes going to dial up a lot of blitz packages today?
Or are you going to drop guys in coverage?
And that's the thing, because we know if you blitz Patrick, if he gets scrambling, he's going to pick you apart.
Yep.
But what I want to see is, are the Chiefs going to take some game plan from the Lions? Are the Chiefs going to take some game plan from the Packers? And are they going to give Isaiah Pacheco the ball 20 to 30 times today to slow the game down? Because quite frankly, this 49ers offense can get going whenever in a blink of an eye. We've seen it the last couple of weeks when they were down in both games and they just woke up, especially the Lions game. But, I'll send the congratulations to both teams. Great seasons by both. But, man, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to cover this game. But as far as the 49ers, just doing it, running the ball, and a great season by Brock Purdy after coming back from that elbow injury that, we see a lot of pitchers take a lot of time to get back from. he's came back, he's done his thing, and here we are, boys.
Yeah, good takes, boys. I'm going to add to this, and hopefully we get Idris back. I'm assuming he may have just had a little issue there. Hopefully nothing big. When I did my preseason predictions, even before we did our detailed divisional previews, my original Super Bowl pick, I got it halfway right, was the San Francisco 49ers, but they were not playing the Chiefs. They were going to be playing Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. I think it's safe to say that went up in flames when Aaron Rodgers got injured on the 5th play of the season, which was a true shocker, especially where America became one with the Jets, following them on Hard Knocks. They were getting a lot more coverage because of bringing in a big-name guy like that. And, the thirst for a ring. They waited a long time. It might seem like a distant memory, but the Kansas City Chiefs, prior to the arrival of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, also suffered for a very long time, comparable to what the Jets have been waiting on. Still, Idris appears to be back. And what I do want to say before I pass it to Idris, what makes this 49er team so difficult to deal with on offense, assuming that they can sustain their blocks, because Shed did make a couple of good points about they do have some weaknesses out there, is that it is very difficult to think that you could get away with double teaming anyone. Because if you overcommit on Christian McCaffrey, they can hurt you because they have speed all over the field, whether it's Ayuk, whether it's Debo, whether it's their third or fourth options that come in as slot men or just as package guys. Kittle, one of the better tight ends in the league, but a true value to his game is that he's also a hell of a blocker and a very good football acumen. I do agree on the other side of the football that Wilkes has been a little too conservative, and I do think that goes hand in hand with why they somewhat struggled against the run, particularly in the first parts of the Packers and Lions games. The 49ers stepped up in the second half of both games on both sides of the ball, but if I'm a 49ers fan, that is a cause of concern for me, is not getting gutted by Isaiah Pacheco, and I'm sure that they're going to have Allaire on deck, as well as anyone that is willing to get in that backfield. The Chiefs are going to try to run the ball today to the best of their ability. That's how they got there. Idris, what do you got in terms of how the 49ers got here and just your overall assessment of their season?
First of all, 49ers have lost 2 straight Super Bowls, the Ravens, and of course against KC. Shanahan has blown a Super Bowl on offense as a coordinator, but just like Steve Young, today they're going to get the monkey off their back. All right,
that is timely.
We're going to sit this right here. We're going to sit this right here for the rest of the show. The 49ers will get the monkey off their back.
Oh my
last
God.
time,
push it for Brock Purdy. This is it.
last time
well played.
that last time that a monkey was shouted out going into Super Bowl week, Joe Burrow said that the Bengals were going to do it for Harambe.
Right,
and I do recall that.
You just jinxed them, Idris. Thank you.
But hold up, Harambe was a gorilla. Okay.
Yeah, there's different layers. I mean, this guy looks like he's kind of like an adolescent. This guy is not like of the girth of a Harambe. We're not going to tell you about that story another time.
This is the award I got for being a clown.
That's gotta go, dude. Like, I'm like, is that why you stepped away for a second?
That was timely. I lost signal. I got another monkey up on the wall too, drinking alcohol. But this was actually an award I was given because I kept monkeying around. Is monkey to Anyway, it's not racist. The white guy gave it to me, but I mean, it was cool. See, it was an award, and I was just acting crazy, and I won.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's not racist, y'all. But today, the 49ers. Anyway, getting back to the game. I think Mahomes will do what he do. I think Fred Warner will pick up his game because he hasn't looked particularly well lately. Of course, you got CMC, Ayuk. I mean, Debo, you got everything back there. You got Kittle coming around. He's just like Kelsey and Casey, but he's a blocker also. I think they got to stay with Chris Jones. I think when it comes to receiving, I think 49ers have the edge because, we see what MVS does. We don't know what Tony's going to do, if he's going to show up today or not. If they're going to even play him or not. So
I don't think he's dressing. They activated McKinnon as well, by the way.
Yeah, I don't see Tony dressing today, or dressing again for the Chiefs for that matter.
Or in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think he'll get another position. Another job somewhere, but
probably with the Raiders.
I don't think the doors would be knocking. People be knocking down doors.
No. There's a lot of character issues in terms of how bad of a teammate he could potentially be.
But I'm Brock Purdy all day, y'all. Let me say this. I was the one man. I'm gonna keep bragging. I was the one man that said when they put him in the game, I said this guy's gonna lead this team to a Super Bowl. Brock Purdy's the man today.
There's only
the monkey too.
There's only one reason, just one reason why I would want to see the 49ers win, and it's because of the prop bet that's in Vegas right now. That I forgot what the odds are, but there is a bet that if the 49ers win the Super Bowl, George Kittle runs up to Taylor Swift and kisses her and steal her away from Kelsey. So I'm like, if there's a guy that'll do it,
WWE storyline.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, if there's a man that would do it, it's him right there. But
obviously,
I'm going for the Chiefs. But just
be careful, buddy, because the WWE is aligning with the NFL now. So storylines can start. Triple H back in the late '90s stole Stephanie McMahon from Test on screen. Yeah, you remember that, right? Got her all roofed out, took her to Vegas.
But Test was a little goofy anyway, so
Yeah. Hey, that guy was. He wasn't on Triple H's level, but you got to say it was a pretty genius scheme. 49ers have led the league in both passing and rushing, as I alluded to. Are the number 3 defense. I did make a mention of that, but something that I find very impressive, what these guys did this year, is that they have broke 30 or more points 13 out of the 18 games they have played. That is very, very impressive. And when I think about how hard that is to do on a week-to-week basis, they did it in Pittsburgh. They did it in Jacksonville. The Dallas game was their highest point output for the year. They did run into some trouble, Philly, as I stated, when Philly, they put a beat down on them in the link.
That was their highest point, 42, I think.
Yeah, they ran into some trouble in the absence of Deebo Samuel. And I've said this on previous shows. I don't think Deebo Samuel is the best player on their offense, but I think he is the most important skill player on the offense. Most important player is probably Trent Williams, if you want to take it there. But
the 49ers scoring over 30 points 13 times is the Chiefs didn't allow anyone to drop 30 on them either. We can't silence their defense.
That's crazy.
Something's got to give. Another WWE reference. It's like the movable object versus the irresistible force. Okay, how they got here, the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to speak on these guys. They are the world champions after all. Very stingy defense, solid running game, and timely quarterback play has led the Chiefs back to the Super Bowl. This year was their most challenging in terms of difficulty of just getting things together and getting through tough patches. Because in the Mahomes-Reed era, they had the likes of a Tyreek Hill. They've had very talented players on offense. I would honestly say from a roster-based standpoint on that side of the ball, you can make an argument that this might be their least talented team since Mahomes and the whole crew basically took over. And on the contrast, like I just talked about with the Niners, KC has only done that 2 of their 17 games, which is put up 30. But to Zappy's point, their defense has been sensational this year. And I mentioned the Niners are 3rd in the league. Guess who's number 2? The Kansas City Chiefs. The Ravens, whose season ended last week, was number 1. But it's an interesting matchup because this really could go either way. For humor's sake and for what Zappy said about the prop bet, tight end matchup. Who has the edge?
If we're going based off of this season alone and quality of play, I would say George Kittle and the 49ers, because this year it looks like as defenses have game planned against the Chiefs, it's been stopping Kelsey because he didn't have that receiver, whether it was Tyreek Hill or Juju Smith-Schuster, whatever the case may be. That Chiefs offense does run through Kelsey, but when he is the number one target without a true number one receiver, I give the edge to George Kittle, because as defensively, when you're planning against the Niners, not only do you have to worry about stopping CMC, you also have to worry about Debo if he's going to go on a spread option type thing. He's going to run around. You got Brandon Ayuk. So there's more weapons on the 49ers that I trust over what the Chiefs present. So I would give the edge to the Niners because of that reason right there. But as far as career-wise, yeah, Kelsey's the better tight end. No offense. But just going based off of this year.
I mean, one's a surefire Hall of Famer. The other guy definitely has a chance at the Hall. Back to how they got here. They did it in a very difficult way this year because, you're talking about running the rock consistently, playing field position in crappy weather games. Steve Spagnuolo, to no one's surprise at this point, has done an exceptional job with that defense. This is a guy that shut down the 2007 Patriots. He did a great job at some critical moments in last year's Super Bowl, holding the Eagles offense in check after they got off to a good start. So this is a guy that's been around these battles. And I do give the coaching edge to the Kansas City Chiefs. Talent standpoint, I think the Niners on paper have the better team. I really do believe that part. Another matchup here that I think is going to be massive. Chris Jones versus Trent Williams. They're going to be bumping heads at different junctures of this game. I mean, two Pro Bowlers, two future Hall of Famers. We both know what they bring to the table. Is there really any way to grade this other than let's just see? Because, the battles are won at different junctures. One guy might be winning his individual battle early on, and the other guy might even it out or take it over later. But I do believe that both these football teams, especially the Chiefs, are going to try to force the issue with running the ball. Idris, your thoughts on this matchup?
I think it'll be close, as usual, because, like I said, Spags got the defense. As for Kittle, I would give Kittle the edge because of what Zappy said. He has so much around him to where Kelsey, the receivers he have, you don't know if they can catch a cold. So, we don't know. But I'm going with Frisco, as I said, Brock Purdy, and I don't care what people say, he's a game manager, whatever. The way I look at it, you need a quarterback to get the job done. You can have the running backs, you can have receivers, but you still need a man on the center to get the ball to these guys. We know that with the Giants because we got weapons, but we don't have any stability at the quarterback. So, I mean, I'm going 49ers. I'm gonna go 31-28. I just think it's going to be. I think they'll be more focused in that last Niners team. The last Niners team got ahead. They got to celebrate and everything.
So you got them cracking the 30-point threshold.
The monkey.
I'm going to reserve my pick for a little later.
The monkey comes off.
Yeah,
the one big matchup that I'm actually looking forward to as we're talking about receivers and stuff like that is that of Rashee Rice, who over the last 8 weeks has really stepped into his own and seen Charvarius Ward, a former Chief, go up against him. That's the one matchup that I'm actually looking forward to.
That goes back to training camp and week-to-week practices.
Exactly. So, obviously I talk about the game is won in the trenches, and I think that edge does go to the Chiefs. But I want to see the game plan for Rashee Rice and how is it going to be? Are they going to roll the safety over, or are they going to be focusing on rolling the safety over to Travis Kelce's side? And how are they going to game plan against Rashee Rice? That's the one matchup that I'm actually looking forward to, because I do think for the Chiefs to succeed, while yes, you have to give Pacheco the ball, but I think Rice is going to be the X factor for the Chiefs to win this game.
I think that what the Chiefs do with Chris Jones too is they move him around. So he will be lining up at Trent Williams at some point, but when he's lined up against Trent, I'm not worried about him. When he lines up in the middle of the right side is where I would hesitate. I would rather see him in the middle because that's when they'll do pro formation and have Juszczyk come in and chip him and double him. And or even McCaffrey, bump him and then go out for a screen.
And there's less opportunity. There's less probability for him to really get at it because you only got one guy to beat, so to speak. If you're playing on the outside, there's going to be a lot of chess playing going on.
Well,
here.
if he's lined up on the right, I think Kittle's going to line up over there and at least chip him and double him because McKivitz is going to need a hand against Chris Jones because that dude is a freaking monster.
You can't stop him. You got to try to contain him. Is what you
correct? Do. Yeah, Chris Jones is a beast, dude. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed's going to be shadowing Ayuk all day, so I don't expect a big game from Ayuk because he's been shutting down number ones all postseason. So I would look more towards, Kittle getting some catches and Debo. Obviously, a lot of Christian McCaffrey probably on some quick screens and dumps. So even Juwan Jennings for that matter.
Yeah. I mean, this could be the kind of bowl game where one of those guys steals an MVP. I remember last year, I think it was Zappy who had made mention. Maybe Kadarius Toney could maybe not necessarily steal the MVP, but he might make one of the big plays. Obviously, he had the big special teams return. Idris was also proven right on some levels because he had said, going back in last year's Super Bowl, how the Eagles struggled with putting teams away and their offense sometimes taking a cat nap, so to speak, in the second half. Both these guys were proven right in last year's game. We're going to talk a little bit about the QBs here. From Mr. Irrelevant to Purdy Good, can Brock Purdy outduel Patrick Mahomes? Is this stage potentially too big for him? I'll start and then quick. If they lose, I don't think it's going to be because of Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy showed me a lot these last couple of weeks. Now, granted, the Dan Campbell point, I made it myself. You gave momentum to a team that didn't earn it. But you roll with the punches of the game. Brock Purdy stepped up his play in the fourth quarter against a very good Packer defense, and he stepped up his game in the Detroit NFC Championship game. And I do believe that maybe last year or even earlier this year, people were saying, is he just, kind of babysitting? Can he really open it up if he has to? Is he just a game manager? And I feel that previous quarterbacks of the 49ers, guys like Alex Smith, guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, guys that got wins in this league, I think are more so on the edge of the game manager. They're not going to lose you the game, but they're not necessarily going to win you it either. Where in this case, I do believe that Brock Purdy is gaining more and more confidence with the weapons he has. And most importantly, a lot of these all-pros look at him as their leader, and a lot of these all-pros believe in him. And that goes a long way when you're going against a guy that essentially is on the fringe of not only a dynasty, but really, continuing to push the issue about the greatest quarterback of all time in the modern era because, we understand that the rules are a little different. We get that. But Patrick Mahomes, if he wins today, is really starting to gain some steam heading towards Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And you got to take into account, this is only year 7 for Mahomes, only 6 years as a starter, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. He sat his first year with the exception of the final game. And, Brady played, 23 years, I believe? So it is very feasible. It is very feasible. Like, and I don't think Mahomes has to catch him to be considered the GOAT. But I don't think the moment is too big for Purdy. I like what Idris said. I do think this 49ers team is going to be more prepared and less susceptible for a letdown because the truth of the matter is, and I think most of us could probably agree on this, the 49ers probably should have been eliminated in round 2. They did get outplayed by that Packer team. That was the scare. They got it. They caught a scare there. Dan Campbell proved that he didn't learn from the Dallas mistakes, and we saw what happened. The 49ers, good teams are going to make you pay when you do stupid shit like that, and that's exactly what happened. Fellas, your thoughts on this quarterback play? We know what Mahomes brings. He has the big resume. I do believe that this has the potential to be a shootout.
I think with Mahomes, he's who he is. The moment's not going to be too big for him at all. He's going to do I don't care if he's down by 10, 15, 20. Mahomes is going to do Mahomes thing. So I'm going to take him out of the equation. There's no moment too big for him. I think he can go up to the moon and fight Martians, and he'd be like, I got this. So, yeah,
we literally saw him do it on one leg last year.
Basically. with Purdy, I don't think the moment's going to be too big for him either because of where he came from, the last play in the draft. He's going to the 49ers, one of the storied franchises, 5 chips, 5 out of 7. What he did this year, his comments to Cam Newton saying about this 32 teams, like 90-something quarterbacks, and you're not on one of them.
He needed to stand up for himself there. I'm glad he did.
That was a boss move right there. I just don't think it's going to be too big for him. I mean, Green Bay had him on the ropes. Detroit had him on the ropes. And those are the 2 games he actually – his first 2 fourth-quarter comebacks. I mean –
that says a lot, dude.
Man.
In the face of adversity, guys grow in terms of football years, like 2-3 years in 2 weeks. Yeah. When you start carving your name in the record books, because, at the end of the day, dude, 49ers are a very iconic organization. I mean, you're talking about Joe Montana, you're talking about Steve Young. Jeff Garcia didn't have the same success as those two, but he was a damn good quarterback in his own right. Alex Smith had a very good career. Colin Kaepernick helped this team get to a Super Bowl. Most recently, Jimmy Garoppolo. Now they're back again. So
I don't think it's too big for him.
No, I think the kid's ready. Yeah. It's going to really be a very interesting situation because it's one dynamic to the other. Because this kid, as I said, was Mr. Irrelevant, which really makes this story even better.
And I'm biased, so I mean, that's my man right there. So I'm a little biased.
Well, you did call him early. I gotta say that for you.
I watched.
I'm gonna hit on a couple. Gonna hit a couple of my keys to victory. My only speaking for myself, and I want my panel to fly in on this. I'm gonna start with the Niners keys to victory. Get heat on Mahomes and limit Pacheco offensively, keeping drives going and not settling for threes. I said it already. On paper, the Niners are the more talented team. Sustaining blocks goes without saying. That's in any football game. Gentlemen, what do you got? Anybody wants to step in?
I'll start. So looking at this game and looking at the Niners throughout the entire season, I hear you guys talking about Brock Purdy. If you look at I'm focusing on 2 games specifically. That's Cleveland and Baltimore, the 2 best defenses that the 49ers played this year. Yeah. And this is yet another one of those defenses that Brock Purdy has to face where they can dial up a lot of defensive schemes that are going to confuse Purdy. That's what I'm worried about today. Yeah. Is the moment too big for him? Absolutely not. He's already proven that over the last couple of weeks. But this is not a Packers defense. This is not a Detroit lower-ranked defensive pass defense. Right. This is Kansas City, the number 2 ranked defense in the NFL they have lived off their defense this year. The reason why they're playing today is because of their defense. Because of that factor right there, I think Purdy is going to look lost at times today. I think he'll overcome it. I do think that today, when the game gets started, the Chiefs actually jump out on top early. And we're going to have to see another situation where Brock Purdy is going to have to lead them on a comeback. But I also, like you, Richie, have it as a higher scoring game. I won't give my prediction as far as who I think is winning. But we saw it in 2018. We saw Patrick Mahomes go up against Tom Brady. And Tom Brady sat there and said, your time is coming, but not today.
Yeah, not today.
And Idris makes point about getting the monkey off his back. The monkey hasn't been on Brock Purdy's back yet. Because, when we reference it with Steve Young, he couldn't beat the Cowboys. The whole comparison to, we let Joe Montana go for you, but you haven't proven anything. And then finally that monkey came off his back 4 or 5 years later. So to this time, we're looking at Brock Purdy, this is his first Super Bowl. Last year, we saw what happened. He gets hurt against the Eagles. They lose that game. I look at it the same way where Patrick Mahomes and this Kansas City Chiefs team has the opportunity to do something that we've only seen from the Packers in the 60s, the Steelers in the 70s, Niners in the 80s, Cowboys in the 90s, and the Patriots over the last 20 years. I don't see how Patrick Mahomes will lose this game with the opportunity, because we're talking about this will be a shot on his legacy if he loses his second Super Bowl in 4 attempts. And then when we have all the comparisons with Tom Brady with Joe Montana, that GOAT debate is gonna kind of be hushed a little bit because of it. So for that reason alone, I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes at this game where he's going to lead this team, and it's going to be a good one, boys. I'll say that. But that's the way I look at it. Is this 49er team is not going in anywhere for the next 5 years. They're going to be here. They're going to win a Super Bowl. I just don't see it being this year because of what's on the line for Andy Reid, what's on the line for Patrick Mahomes, the dynasty, everything. They need this win for the dynasty to happen, and we get a dynasty every decade, and the Chiefs just happen to be it this time.
All right. Shed, you're up, dude.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys had read any of the headlines with the 49ers, a lack of defensive effort, specifically in the Detroit game, where Chase Young's just there, like it was on Jahmyr Gibbs' touchdown run. You can see him just jogging, not tackling him, and he had the full opportunity to do that.
That was bad.
But he wasn't the only one. So, but he was obviously highlighted because of his name, and the Niners traded for him. And
also because he's new to the whole thing. I think he's also under a little more microscope because he's new to the team.
Well, point is, they're all well aware that they underperformed. They played like crap. They obviously showed up in the second half. They're not going to do that this game. They can't do that this game. If their defense looks like they did against Green Bay and Detroit, they're going to get stomped. I'm telling you, these guys are going to be focused. I don't see any other way around to sugarcoat that. I mean, obviously, if I'm Kansas City, I'm gonna run on San Francisco until they can prove that they're going to stop it. I would just keep. I'd run
absolutely
all day until they can prove they can stop him. And he runs hard and fast, and he runs angry. Like that dude can run.
A throwback in a lot of measures. The way that kid runs the football, especially in today's times.
Yeah. I mean, he's a beast. So we'll see what the 49ers can do to dial that up. I don't see them, blitzing a whole lot. Mahomes will make you pay. He's like number 1 against the blitz, and Purdy's number 2 though. So I mean, you don't really want to Purdy either. But
he's got a quick release. I also think it speaks volumes on the offensive game planning and the talent. I mean, dude, they have a lot of talent.
But Rich, I don't want Pro Bowl players. I want Super Bowl players.
No, I get it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't care how many All-Pros Niners got. I want Super Bowl players. I get it.
I want winners.
Yeah.
No, bring it back.
My boys in recent time did it with not the most star-studded of rosters. You always need those unsung guys that are going to really show up on a day like today. And every Super Bowl, a couple of plays a game, you get that unsung guy that sometimes could sway the tide. Last year, of all people, like I said, it actually was Kadarius Toney. James Bradbury coming through, denying the Eagles of a Super Bowl. Yeah, that happened. But
you guys realize that with the big thing is the way Shed alluded to right now with blitzing, the 49ers cannot blitz.
They can't blitz.
They cannot blitz. I mean, they've blitzed a lot. I'm looking at the blitzing statistics for the year for percentages, and the 49ers were up there this year with they blitzed a lot because they had to make up for the lack of pass rush from Chase Young because he takes so many plays off, from Randy Gregory because, I mean, they traded for both these guys who have been proven pass rushers. More, I would say more Gregory, he was just his own enemy.
You got to generate it elsewhere if it's not happening in your front layer. And what happens, like they say with our guy, when if we try to wink, that's when you dink. That's how you beat that kind of defense. The truth, though, when you overblitz. I hope for the 49ers' sake, they don't have to resort to being too predictable because a man like Patrick Mahomes, who's seen it all and can read a defense inside out, even going back to his college years. But my keys to victory for the Chiefs, trust what got them there. Excellent defense running the rock. Don't be afraid to play field position. Force Brock Purdy to throw more than the game plan suggests. You got to be accountable for the best running back in professional football, CMC. If he's eating, no one else can. And what I mean by that is if he's going to get his, you got to make the ultimate adjustments to make sure that you're not getting destroyed elsewhere. I have a feeling, win or lose, George Kittle is going to have a big game. Before we make our final predictions, I do want to ask this. Shanahan versus Reed, we kind of touched on it a little. What's at stake legacy-wise for both of these dudes?
Well, I'll say this. I mean, for Andy Reid, we saw what he did with Philadelphia. 3 straight NFC title games, 1 Super Bowl, a loss. T.O. with a broken foot. I'm sorry, 4. That's right. I apologize. 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then we see now what he's done with the Chiefs. 6 straight AFC title games. This is what their 4th Super Bowl. And dynasty on the line. The one thing Andy Reid needs on his resume to put him up there in the top 3 of all-time coaches, because quite frankly, a lot of people, and I do say a lot of people think that Andy Reid is the best Bill Belichick. It's just Belichick had a guy but number 12 there for the longest time, you know. But you know, the same can be said about Andy Reid, that hey, you couldn't do it with McNabb. It took Patrick Mahomes to get you those wins. Either way, for Andy Reid, it's getting that dynasty. For Kyle Shanahan, that's who needs to get the monkey off his back. We saw him call a great first half, a great first 3 quarters of offensive play calling against the Patriots. 28-3. We all know what happened after that. We saw this same 49ers team up 20-10 a couple years ago against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Then the 4th quarter happened. Part of that was Jimmy Garoppolo.
7 minutes left.
Yeah,
and they blew that.
left.
And they blew that.
Yeah.
So, I remember that game.
I thought it was over.
For those reasons right there, when we're talking about, like, if I'm a Niners fan, I don't feel comfortable if the Niners are up 27-13, 27-17, whatever the case. I don't feel comfortable because Kyle Shanahan has made a career of blowing big games in the biggest moments, where Andy Reid has kind of turned the page on that. And the Buccaneers game, for example, when you have great coaching and a great quarterback, things that would happen to the Chiefs, who was a great team, you get blown out. You know, sometimes coaching is the difference. I give coaching, obviously, the edge to the Chiefs by a long shot. If there's a team that's going to be ready to play, it would be the Chiefs, because Andy Reid does not. I mean, complacency does not exist in that locker room. I guarantee you, boys.
No, they were. And when they kind of fell into some of their issues early on in the season, earlier, the Raider loss, the Packer loss, a couple of dubious things that went down, the Denver loss. What I like about them, they have a lot of resolve. I agree with what you're saying, Zap, with the analogy of the monkey off the back, but I'm also going to give Idris a shout here too. I do think that you can make an analogy for Brock Purdy getting the monkey off his back, in the sense that, can he really show out against a top-tier defense, like you kind of made the point on? Because to your point, Green Bay's a good defense, but they're not the 3 that are at the top of the league. And Detroit has certain players, but we've said it all year long that secondary was going to be their Waterloo sooner or later. Shanahan, this is a tough one, man. You know, his father, back-to-back Super Bowl champion, broke away from Dan Reeves, then beat Dan Reeves. This is a massive, massive game for this man's legacy. It is huge. But I do want to say this. With the whole Andy Reid, if he wins, he's number 3. If he loses, maybe not. Patrick Mahomes is a top 5 all-time quarterback when they're going to measure it and when it's all going to be said and done. Belichick always provided Brady with a defense. And all I'm going to say is this. The heartbeat of this Kansas City team this year has been Steve Spagnuolo's bunch. I'm not questioning Andy Reid's ability. And yes, sometimes you do need that one X-factor player, because it certainly wasn't Donovan McNabb, as Brett would say when he was chunking up the chunky soup. But the thing is, Patrick Mahomes is the kind of guy that can make everybody look great. And I'm not taking nothing away from Coach Reid. You know, Coach Reid did a lot in Philadelphia. It was poetic that he beat Philadelphia. But it's just so many variables. Like, win or lose, I'm still not completely comfortable being like, okay, so you just jumped Lombardi and Hallis, maybe Shula, and then you got Landry, and you got so many other great names. So it's a little uncomfortable to just say, okay, here you go. And I think we could all, Bill Walsh, like we could all, it's debatable still. It's still debatable because, eras play a lot in this shit too. And I think Patrick Mahomes, without question, plays in the best era for his skill set. Gentlemen, anything you want to add before we roll into our finals? I want to hear some Super Bowl MVP picks along with your pick, and paint a picture for the people. Tell us how it's going to end. Let's
Hey, let's share closer because this is his squad.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's share closer.
Yes, I agree. We're going to say
we can say you. Well, with me, I think with the 49ers, unlike Detroit, unlike Green Bay, don't get behind on KC because Mahomes will put the nail in the coffin like, okay, these guys don't want to play us. Let's just go ahead and put them to bed. They need to jump on KC, just like they should have jumped on Green Bay and Detroit so they won't have to fight at the end. They need to jump on.
Correct.
I think it's going to be a defensive thing, but I still think they'll throw 30 up there. I think there'll be lapses on both sides where they'll get caught deep. MVP, the monkey on the back is mainly towards Shanahan because of what he did. But I agree with Purdy also because Cleveland, Baltimore.
You can make the analogy because Zappy made a solid point about
saying he's a game man.
How does he do against his monkey?
Yes. He wins the big game. No more of that talk will happen.
If he puts up a performance like Flacco in 2012 or Sims in '86, you kind of get that narrative off your back a little.
So, but let me ask you a question. If he wins the game, but he has a poor game, and the game is won because the 49ers defense and Christian McCaffrey, is the monkey off his back?
Yes.
No.
He's a Super Bowl champion at that point.
Yeah, he's still a Super Bowl champion. Absolutely.
Remember, this is only his second year in the league.
That is reasonable because Big Ben, then he'll never win. He'll never win if they rip him apart for that. It's his second year in the league. Performance
in Super Bowl LVIII, it's like his first full season because he only played half the season last season.
Correct.
Yeah, that's reasonable too. I think he's grown a lot this particular year. I mean, in some metrics, he's shown more strides than guys that have been doing it longer, and that's something to be applauded, win or lose today. Zappy, Idris, hit me with your predictions. I'm going to hit you with mine, and then we're going to roll it to Shed.
31-28, Frisco, good game, a lot of offense. I think it's going to be a real good game, but I think it'll come down to a field goal.
I look at it this way, gentlemen. 31-20 was the final score back in 2019. Obviously, we know the comeback that happened. The holding that was never called that led to Patrick Mahomes throwing deep. I fully expect the Chiefs to come out a little more prepared than the Niners early on. We saw what they did against Baltimore in the opening drive last week. 2 weeks ago. I expect the same thing today. I expect the Chiefs to come out and jump on them early. However, the caveat to that, I think this is going to be another game that Brock Purdy is going to have to settle into, and he's going to have to lead this team into a comeback. Ultimately, I think the Niners get the lead late, 27-24, but the Chiefs get the ball last. And it'll be an MVP-type moment by Patrick Mahomes. He will lead that team on a final drive, and I have the Chiefs winning this game 31-27, and them getting their third, with Mahomes getting the MVP.
All right. I got the 49ers coming out hot early, potentially going to sleep midway through the third. But in the end, I do believe that this is their year. This is their time. 49ers 34. Back that up. 49ers 30. Chiefs 24. This is going to be the second time that a Super Bowl goes to overtime.
Ooh.
And
wow, okay.
A Patrick Mahomes fumble late in the game sways the tide in OT. That sets up a 49er drive for the win. I got Ayuk taking it to the house for the game-winning touchdown. but your MVP is going to be Mr. Irrelevant, year 2 man, Brock Purdy. The Niners are a rival. I get it, but they're still the NFC, and they have waited since 1994. I think it's time.
Purdy.
I got the Niners winning it. Brock Purdy will be your MVP 30-24 in OT. 4 years ago, I picked the Chiefs. 4 years later, I'm picking the Niners.
That's 2 monkeys. We know where the third one going.
Yup, shit.
At least we think we know the third one going.
I like the Niners to win the game. I truly believe that the defense, especially after being called out like it had, I honestly believe they're going to show up and they're going to turn some heads. I honestly, I mean, that's just the way I feel. I mean, obviously, I'm biased anyway, so take that for what you will.
Me too, man.
Yeah, you're not gonna pick against your team on Super Sunday. That's for damn sure.
But I really don't think that Mahomes and co. I mean, if you're going to pick an Achilles heel on Kansas City, it's their offense. It's not their defense, not the special teams. They have one of the best kickers in the league, and the Niners have a very bad kicker, in my opinion.
He's a rookie.
Yeah, he is a rookie, but still.
Yeah, he missed a lot of.
I mean, he lost the kick at Cleveland that could have won him the game, for example.
Yeah.
And he missed a kick in Green Bay
and Detroit.
And Detroit.
And in Madden yesterday against my beloved New York Giants online. I'm not playing with you. This is the truth. He kicked one wide right, which allowed Danny Dimes to lead the team down the field to Isaiah Hodgins for the dub.
Dude, Justin Tucker kicked the 68-yard field goal on me a week ago.
But I did miss a 62-yarder week ago. Continue, Shed.
68.
Right on. Clank. Sorry, Shed. Go ahead.
So I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. If you're a betting man, bet the under. But I do like the Niners to win 27-17 with Christian McCaffrey being the MVP.
I like it.
It's going to be fun. Hey, but how about that? You just talked about one guy specifically, how he blew games for you guys, missed field goals in the playoffs. Moody. And here we are. What if that's the reason why he misses that key kick and you guys lose by 2 points or something like that?
People can leave Scott Norwood alone. People can start leaving Scott Norwood alone.
Yeah, he's gone. If he
that would be.
He was a third round pick, number 99 overall. Just remember that out of Michigan, Jake Moody.
Yeah, well, we've seen it. I mean, with the exception of Sebastian Janikowski, we saw Roberto Aguayo get drafted by the Buccaneers high, and he couldn't.
I remember him. Yes,
he was a flop. We've seen this before, and we didn't even talk about the kicking game, and that could be the biggest Achilles heel for the Niners.
Well, let's be honest. Jake Moody overall is kicking well. Honestly, he really is, but he's still not freaking Harrison Butker. You know, he's just not. He's not as accurate. I mean, again, first year in the league, he's a rookie. This is a big stage. This is a Super Bowl.
Who's getting a pick today?
Are going to affect him. You know,
random stat stuff here. Who's getting a pick today? Who's getting the first pick of the Super Bowl?
Fred Warner.
L'Jarius Sneed.
That's what I'm going to go with Sneed. I'm going to go
Big Cock Brock's going to throw a pick.
One, and it's not going to be his fault. It's going to be off of somebody's hands. Might be Jennings.
I think
I have Sneed, and it's going to be. Hey, but look at it this way, guys. The storylines are set. We have a 49er team that could possibly be starting the dynasty, going up against.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about the other side of it. Nobody has talked about that other possibility. If the Chiefs win. I'm sure I could entertain you with X's and O's and reasons why. I think there's another reason why. They do really well when Taylor Swift's in the building, boys. I'm not going to even slightly deny that.
I mean, we've heard it. 13, her favorite number 13. Her 13th game this year is today. 13-hour flight. But guess what? The Chiefs are going up against number 13. There's so much stuff tied in. So there's 2-11, 13, 49ers, 13. I mean. Oh gosh, guys, I love it, guys. I love it. It's gonna be a good time. I need a beer.
Yeah, I'm getting thirsty. Feeling a little parched.
Gotta go check on the smoker.
Oh man.
Hey, I see it this way. The last time I don't like saying this. This is something Zappy would say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You had Big Dick Nick, now you got Big Cock Brock. Super Bowl.
My man.
I do want to say this.
Sorry, Zappy.
And I think the media is guilty of this for to a level, and even us, when kind of talking about this to a level, we might be guilty too. I do believe that we punished the 49ers a little bit with some of their struggles on defense, or even their struggles offensively for a little while against the Pack, against Detroit. But guys, to be fair, the Kansas City Chiefs, literally by the skin of their ass, got out of Buffalo alive. And in Baltimore, Baltimore held them to 17 points. You're supposed to win those games.
Buffalo, they lost in Buffalo. Remember that. That was the Kadarius Toney, I'm going to line up 5 yards offsides.
That was in KC.
That was in KC.
Yeah, that was in KC. Yeah. It was no, but what I'm getting at is in these playoffs, Kansas City's offense has been far from championship caliber. If the 49ers could play defense like the way that they were projected to, I mean, fellas, they are the number 3 defense in the league, no matter DeMeco Ryans, they're still number 3 out of 32. This is the thing. Both of them can play defense, but one team can play offense a lot better, and that team is the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm going to hang my hat on that. In this kind of league, offense still overweighs defense in certain variables in the way that the rules handicap defense in a lot of ways. I am a little surprised that 3 of the 4 of us actually are picking the Niners, because I'll be honest, I can't get in Shed's head. But going into this, I don't think Shed maybe thought one of us might have picked, two.
I thought you were all going to be on the Chiefs.
I am. And the only reason why, the 2 reasons why I'm taking the Chiefs is because obviously the defense, what we saw the Niners do against top tier defenses, but Patrick Mahomes. That's the only reason. Who they have the better quarterback, and like I said, Purdy, his time is coming, but Mahomes, it's his time right now.
I couldn't turn my back on Purdy. I rode with him this far. I got to ride with him the last ride.
No, I get it. And I'll be honest with you. I don't like dynasties. My team never had one in baseball, not in football. I don't like dynasties. I want to see. This isn't about, the 49ers are going to tie the AFC. I'm okay with that because I'm an NFC guy, and I'm tired of the AFC having more Lombardis. You got these Steeler fans acting like they didn't suck for 40 fucking years.
Whoa. Tell me how you really feel.
You got these Patriot fans acting like football didn't start until 2001. Right. So yes,
I would like to see. Patriots, they sucked back then too.
Yes, they did. Why do you think that you have people that rooted for this team that were Red Sox fans?
Right.
Because nobody wanted to watch those guys back then. And the Giants were a regional team that you could still catch on the tube back in the old days. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that guy down there, Zappy, he's waited since 95. This guy waited since 94. Listen, we're rivals based on playoff history. We're not in the same division, Shed. We're rivals. Zappy, obviously, we're rivals. At the end of the day, those are 2 iconic franchises. Mm-hmm. And I take nothing away from Mr. Hunt and what he built in Kansas City, but I'm an NFC guy, and that's where I stand. I could hate you when we play, but this is representing the conference, and it's not Dallas and it's not Philly, so I'm rooting for you.
I'm just tired of Taylor Swift.
God, you guys,
she's not going anywhere, boys. She's here to stay.
You guys are making me cry, making me blush. You're actually rooting for my team. It's nice. I'm picking the Niners to win.
I'm about Brock Purdy, man. I want that guy to win. He's Mr. Relevant. I want Brock Purdy to win.
No, it is a cool story, especially when they keep shoving all these stupid State Farm commercials down your throat. I don't got no issue with Taylor. It's the media's fault for being that far up her ass. Let her live. She loves Travis. I actually believe that's actually a real thing, which is rare in that world.
He gets on one knee tonight. If they win, I think he does what that running back did for Boise. I think he gets on one knee and proposes.
He might get on one knee if he runs into Fred Warner. Also, for Mike Zappy, for Idris Salam, and for our 49er resident fan, Mr. Ryan Shed.
Go Niners.
And for that guy,
the monkey, he goes off the back today.
Enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy your food. Enjoy your family. Have a great time. And I just hope it's a great game for everybody. Like and subscribe to the channel, Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow, more than likely, with a recap, maybe even tonight. We out.
Hungover.